Please help me welcome Jade to the stage. How's
Hello.
it going? Hello.
Hello.
We love the outfit, right?
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, so we have a lot to get into. This album is, it's gorgeous and it's light, but it's really heavy too. But one of the things that you said is that you wanted this album to be a conversation.
Yeah.
That's very clear. You know, the title is really engaging. How does that approach differ or feel similar to previous projects of yours?
I think maybe when you get a little bit older, you sort of realize that you don't have all the answers. When you're a kid, you're like, I got this one. I know this one. And I think my debut felt a little bit like that. I was kind of like punchy and had worked everything out. And as my life kind of progressed in my mid-20s, it was kind of just watching the fallout of my relationship and questioning how much my family's fallout of their relationships had an effect on me. And it just became a series of questions that honestly still are very much unanswered. So, yeah, it was and I felt like after singing on stage, I would come up to people and people would like, this song reminded me of this. And I wanted that feeling in the record, you know?
Totally. When you say the album title, like what kind of intonation do you put on that question?
Jade Bird. Who wants to talk about love? You know what I mean? It's just straight up.
Kind of like fun, you know?
Yeah.
Something everyone wants to talk about all the time.
Yeah, right. It's going well.
Yes. No, I like that it's an open invitation, you know? Gets the conversation going. The idea behind the album, so many of the songs, is kind of what you just hinted at. Like, you're examining this cycle of what you've called broken relationships. So, obviously, that's been present your whole life. But other than just age, like, why did you feel ready now to really go deep on this topic?
A lot of it stemmed from this conversation I had with my mum. So on my second record, I had this song about my dad, and it was called Houdini. And obviously the metaphor for the figure being not there, or, you know. And I remember saying to my mum, it came out, and the NME did this little article, you know, Jade Bird drops a new song. But they said it was about a boyfriend or an ex-boyfriend, or it was another breakup song. And I just felt like the message wasn't quite what I wanted it to be, and I felt maybe people's connection to the song might be hindered because of that. And so this album, I wanted to make a real attempt to be really as vulnerable as I felt my lyrics are, but when I'm talking about the songs too, to allow people to connect with them even more. You know what I mean? Because they've been a source of a lot of solace for me. So I felt like that was important. But yeah, Mum was like, JD, you know, maybe you just got to give the people a little bit more.
Yeah. It is crazy. I mean, you've always been such an honest songwriter, but then to hear this album, somehow you got even deeper.
Yeah, I think like I said, I was brought up by my mum and my grandma, and there's a real emphasis on strong women and being a strong woman. And I think I, as a kid, maybe saw anything I was struggling with as a weakness. And I think this album was more trying to find that strength in those issues instead of doing that, instead of masking and being like, feisty Jade Bird, you know?
Well, it's cool because I feel like some of these songs, you actually sound like you're at your strongest. Like some of these vocals are really fierce.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, I was going for it in the vocal booth, as usual. You can count on me.
Where did you mostly record?
So it's interesting. The start of this record was really chaotic. As I said, it was really struggling in my relationship, and I was trying to find a producer. And that's really hard because you don't know what the sound is. I had all these songs. I was kind of knowing what I wanted in the album, but the sound was really fluctuating, which made me feel less sure of the vision. And then I met Andrew Wells, who executive produced the whole album. And obviously then fell in love with him too. So that worked out. Oh, Lord. It's a nice happy ending, I guess. But that sort of allowed me to feel kind of trusted in the process, and, you know, just it added a whole new dimension to recording music that I hadn't had before, I guess.
Yeah. For someone who doesn't record music, what is like the vibe check when you're meeting with a producer? Like, how do you, especially something this vulnerable, how do you
I'm a bit
out?
judgy.
Yeah?
I'm a little bit judgy. If you're showing up high, you know what I mean, a bit out of it, I'm like, I don't think you're the one for me. Literally, I guess. I didn't know I was speed dating. But But yeah, I think respect people and respect what they do and respect their talent, and I expect the same kind of back. And when you meet on this kind of mutual respect, you have the best working relationship. And I was really honored, actually. There was Teddy Geiger and Andrew Sarlo and Greg Kirsten on this record, and they're honestly some of my heroes. So it was just really cool. It was like working with peers instead of those sessions, like I said, where you're like, oh, not the one for me.
Yeah. I was going to ask about those specific collaborators you just mentioned, because they're legends, that you got to work with. Yeah. Looking back now, are there any kind of specific memories that stand out from those sessions that are really special to you?
Yeah, there's one actually I tell a lot because it's got a direct correlation to the song Dreams. Basically, I was in LA and I was having this process, and I ended up falling out with my ex in a really big way. It felt like, honestly, the whole world was ending. It was one of those arguments, and I kind of fell asleep at about 4 or 5 a.m. I know, chaos. I rock and roll in a bad way. And then I sort of woke up and I had the Greg Kirsten session, and I was like, oh, I've messed everything up. Like, this is a huge deal for me. I wanted to show up ready. And I was in the car just a broken human being, and I kind of looked out the window and there was a billboard, and in very LA fashion it was like, this is what dreams are made of.
You're like crying.
I was literally, oh great, yeah, not mine. And so then I took that, noted it in my head, and went in the studio. He starts playing the keys and I just poured out. Like, that vocal I kept from the day because it was just so on the edge because my voice was sort of gone. So yeah, pretty deep memories and some unfortunate, yeah.
Man, that is fascinating because I was curious if you did many takes of that vocal because it is so emotional. Like, it sounds like it's just what came out from the start.
Yeah, sort of. I think sometimes when you're recording a vocal with these songs, it's very much like you close your eyes and it's so confessional. My songwriting, you're just right there. And honestly, that song was just, like you said, it was probably like take 2. And then I was like, we don't really do any more now. Or I'm going to, drop off the edge.
Yeah, totally. In the, a track list breakdown that I have for the record, on Dreams, at the end of it, you said you don't like the word trauma.
Did I?
Yes.
Okay.
I didn't know if you would remember saying that, but if it's
probably,
if it's still true, I want to know why.
Well, I'm constantly reckoning with this thing. Like, my mum's pretty anti-therapy, Mm-hmm. She's very UK, like, it's fine, Jade. You have I think she said, it's just abandonment issues. Like, it'll be great. So my mum's a bit for that school of thought. So I think there's a little part of me sometimes that everything's fine, and I think maybe it's a fear of exaggerating my experience or that kind of thing. But I don't know what I was doing that day. Didn't like the word trauma, I guess. But yeah.
The sequencing for the album does sort of, to me as a listener, it does chronologically move through the phases of getting over something.
Yeah.
Tell me how you kind of approached sequencing. Was it that simple of just this is the process, or was there?
I really wish it was. Honestly, it was an absolute nightmare.
Really?
Yeah, track listing this record was really, really hard, and I made an attempt actually to leave all the rage and all the anger off this record, and we'll be releasing it later. Gotta put it in somewhere. So I literally, I was I just want it to be stick around is something I return to. I feel like it's the inner JD of I wasn't good enough for you to stay. That's the kind of cyclical thought when we talk about generational trauma or whatever. So I wanted to start the record there. And then Wish You Well, like I said, is about my dad. And honestly, it still hurts when I introduce it and I sing it because it's not resolved even now. But the path of that is forgiveness. It's a song about forgiveness. So I did want to take you on a journey, and that definitely was intentional. If musically it was a little hard,
Yeah, you nailed it.
Thank
truly,
you. I appreciate
start
that.
to finish, it makes perfect sense.
Thank you very much.
So Save Your Tears, you said, was the first song that clicked for the record.
Yeah.
Tell me how that happened for you, because it took the longest. It's 3 years.
Yeah,
right,
you're right. Yeah, that's honestly how long this record's taken. I was in a session, and it was one of those cases of I wasn't necessarily sure this person was right at all, and I kind of made that decision. And I remember I was sat on this, we were outside or something, having a coffee or something. I was like, we need to be writing. We need to be doing our thing. Neurotic. And then I was kind of do-do-do-do-do, started with the riff. And then this person went and bounced to their car to go get something out of their car. And I was like, oh, I don't think this is the right person for me. So I was like, oh, I've got a headache. I've got a really bad headache. And then I sort of bounced home and finished it, and was like, I remember that feeling when I was like, oh, this is exactly it. This is exactly the feeling. That's why writing songs is just such a spiritual and fun experience, because when you do finish a song that defines you in that moment, you're like, yes. And it was just really euphoric. And it was about being there for someone I couldn't be there for. They were in New York, I was in LA. And yeah, it just felt like this is what I want for this record.
Nice. On the flip side, what was the hardest song to crack?
Oh, good question. Hardest on crack. We definitely did Einstein a couple times, because I did Einstein so early on, and it was so Americana. I was really obsessed with Linda Ronstadt's Birds. That was my breakup song. When you break up with someone and you have one song that's, oh God. Yeah. That was my one. Linda's just, you probably know, I'm obsessed with her. So I was really drawing from that soundscape, and then it turns out it didn't quite fit on the record, so we had to redo some things and rewrites. And the Milk Carton Kids helped me a little bit there. Yeah, he brought in the 12-string. So yeah, that one maybe.
When you look back on this album now, obviously these songs are so personal, but is there a lyric that you're just kind of like, I love that line?
Yeah, there is. Which one is it? It's the sassy one. There's this song called Glad You Did. And I was feeling a bit, I'm only human. I have negative feelings about the past, or past people. And I was kind of sat there, and I was in this apartment. It was way too big, and I was paying way too much money. And he ended up moving out when we broke up, and he had this big truck, this big F-1 truck. It was a little crazy. And I was getting fines through the door of my house for his truck, and I was having this real crisis. And should I give him the fines or let him keep going? I don't know. I won't tell you what I did. But I wrote this verse on this song, Glad You Did, and it's pretty revealing. Maybe I'll play it for you later instead of saying it all now. But yeah.
Are there other little things? Obviously, songwriting is so healing and therapeutic. Whether or not you let him pay those fines eventually, are there other things you did just to kind of get through that time in your life outside of music?
Driving. I didn't learn to drive until I was about 24, 25, and it was in LA. And it literally, what was that? Okay. Literally, well, everywhere I go now where I'm on tour, I'm like, oh, this is easy.
Totally, yeah.
I get so many speeding tickets as well, because I'm just like, 100 miles an hour. But no, driving, I remember just finding myself going to the beach in the middle of the night sort of thing, and just ending up there and being like, what was I doing? And I was like, I think I was just driving, and listening to albums in the car and feeling free. I felt so claustrophobic for so long. Driving enabled me to feel free. Yeah.
That's amazing. What were some of those albums that you would play?
Good question. It would have been Linda, the one with the orange cover that is now blanked, a bit of Townes Van Zandt. Chris Stapleton's my go-to. Yeah, probably those ones.
Do you ever play your own music when you're
driving? Yeah.
Old stuff? I know people listen to new, right. So
no,
it's the
you're
new
right.
Stuff that you'll play, but
you're
don't play
so
your old
right
stuff.
there, Lindsay. You're so right. Anything I've put out, I immediately go, it's trash. Why did I even do that? And then anything that's not released, I'm like, this is the greatest thing I've ever. It's going to change the world. So that's sort of the cycle of listening to my own music.
So after tonight, it's game over for this album.
Yeah, pretty much. I'm going to listen to it once and be like, trash.
I can assure you it is quite the opposite. This is just a phenomenal album.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
I know we're giggling now, so I hate to bring up a real downer, but
that's like my shows, yeah.
We need to talk about Avalanche.
Avalanche, yes.
Yes. You have said, this song came out of the lowest point of your life.
Mm-hmm.
How did it pull you out?
So I just remember I was not checking in with myself. I don't think I developed that ability. As I said, I grew up, quite an interesting way, and it was sort of ignore, carry on. And I think songwriting for me is always, it's been that process of checking in with myself and sometimes realizing and sometimes putting it in a demo and only realizing after. And I turned up at Teddy Geiger's house, and she was smoking a spliff, and I was just having a think. And I remember we went into the studio to start, and I literally looked down, and it was like, sun shines through the ice, realize that I'm frozen. And it became this metaphor, like that lyric crystallized in the choices I've chosen, It was just, it just was so how it felt, and the lyrics are exactly where I was. But I can't tell you I really knew. I don't think I really was realizing how low I'd gotten and how low my self-esteem had gotten. That kind of came afterwards. Yeah.
I love the lines about, you wanted a search party to come. It's not, how sometimes when you're really in it, you're just like, no one come find me.
Yeah, it's a bit of a cry for help, I think, in them scenarios. If you're sort of, like I said, feeling claustrophobic and in a bad place and feel like you can't, a lot of, it's interesting, I was looking at a couple of my songs, and a lot of them, I've talked about my mum a lot. It's time to call my mother, or it's, I'm going to tell her. And I think that's the moment of realization for me, because I'm so used to being away from her that when I do call her and I'm like, no, we're not good, mum. Yeah. That's the moment I realize. Yeah, dark.
Yeah. At what point do you let your mom hear your music, especially an album like this?
Well, now we've got Andrew. Yeah. We let her hear early, as soon as it's done. Andrew Wells is really talented. He sort of makes it sound great straight away. But before, you don't want to show her a version too early. And she's like, I'm not sure, JD.
She's free with her feedback?
Oh, yeah. My grandma's even worse.
Oh, no.
My grandma, I'll be putting out a single next week. I'll play it to her, and she's like, Or she'll start doing something. So I'll be playing my song, and then she'll go and fold something up and be like, have you thought about this next week? And I'm like, we're supposed to be, Grandma, supposed to be listening to this very moving song. She doesn't care, yeah. Those attention spans, yeah, it's getting the older generation too.
Yeah, exactly. We already talked about Dreams a little bit. We briefly touched on Wish You Well, but, that's a song you've kind of alluded to before. I feel like fans are aware of it.
Yeah.
How does it feel for it to have a home on this record? I know you said it's unresolved, but it has a place, it's cemented now.
Yeah, I think it's really still incredibly tough. I was hoping at this point that I would be playing it and not crying. And I'm not quite there because it's not resolved and I haven't got there. And forgiveness, like I said, isn't probably either of our strong spots, hence why we haven't rekindled or whatever. Yeah. But yeah, no, it's really hard, that one. But it's genuinely the most honest and vulnerable song I've done. So I'm eternally grateful for Jen De Silvia, who I wrote it with. I wouldn't have written that song by myself. I'm really grateful it's on the record. It's kind of true to the situation.
Yeah.
But yeah, tough, really tough, to be honest. It's nice when people really resonate. And that's when I talk about this whole thing being a conversation when I come off stage and I've played that song. And the amount of people that have come up and been like their own dads or like daughters or just, it's a whole breadth of things. It's just something you don't feel alone when people do that,
Totally.
So yeah, it's glad it's on the record.
Yeah. Obviously, the conversation with your fans has always been free-flowing, but has this album helped open up conversations, in your personal life that you felt like weren't happening prior?
Well, it's very current, that. I have to examine every time I sing this song whether it's worth reaching back out and reconnecting with that side of my family. So it's extremely present and processing that it kind of is happening. But I did this really beautiful thing, actually, with this album. I asked fans to call in with voicemails of their experiences, and people were just so open and had these just insanely, I remember clicking on the first one and I'm just crying in my bedroom. Life's a beautiful thing, and kind of got reminded of that by doing this very thing. So yeah.
Yeah, well, people feel so comfortable being that open because you're that open with us,
I guess.
It's a give and take.
Yeah, I guess you're right, and that was the intention. So it's nice that.
It is actually amazing hearing, some of how you grew up and how you are really able to be quite honest in songwriting. It seems like it pours out quite naturally.
It's kind of it has to be unfiltered. It's really hard. People often ask about like the process of songwriting and what do you do, and do you start with this or do you start with that? And the truth is, like, when you play a chord, it's so embedded in the subconscious that whatever comes out is just, you don't get a chance to filter it with the best ones. You say a line and you kind of go, ooh, I didn't know I felt like that. And those best songs, I think, come from that exact thing that I cannot explain to this day. Yeah.
At what point for you do you realize, like, well, I have an album in front of me?
That's a good question. I don't know, to be honest. I'm not sure when that happens. I just get the sense that I can't keep doing this. You know? I'm like, all right, this is the last one, and then I sort of do a little sprint, and then I'm like, oh, another one, and then we're done. You know?
Oh man, that's what's kind of funny to me is, like, you know, with this album just coming out, the conversation is just starting. But are you kind of sick of talking about love right now? Like, are you over it?
No, I don't think so. It's a never-ending concept, I mean, I was the kid that asked too many questions. You know, especially with my mum, bless her. Like, she went through a divorce pretty early on, and I was sort of like, Mummy, what's happening with this? And she'd be a bit like, oh God. You know, should have done this when you were 2. You wouldn't have so many questions. But yeah, I've always been really curious, and that's one of my greatest joys in life, is just questions and figuring stuff out and trying to get to the bottom of things. So no, it's never going to get old for me.
Yeah, and now, I mean, you've become like a guru for other people to come to, I suppose.
No guru here. I've made all the mistakes. I'm in love now, though, right? Maybe I've learned. Yeah, maybe I am a guru.
As you're sort of like emerging from this process and this album, is there one lesson where you're just like, okay, I actually learned that. Like, I can move on from this thing?
I think I always thought when I was younger that I had to be with someone who was the opposite to me. You know, you're always told you need someone who's like, you know, yin to yang, and I would thought I'm this firecracker, right? And I was like, oh, I need water, I need, you know, calm. And then I kind of met someone who's like, you know, pretty much like me. We're sort of both a bit like straightforward and intense, and it's the greatest thing ever. So I think maybe, you know, you don't have to look for your opposite, you know, and I think that comes from self-love too. If you love yourself, you might see the guru not just spilling out, man. It's just spilling out. Yeah. But yeah.
I love that. I think what you were just kind of getting at the end there is really amazing. Is like, it takes being so confident and loving what you have to offer that you want that from someone else too.
Well, you're sort of saying you don't need an antidote, really. Yeah. You know, I think if you kind of doing that process, you're saying this about me is too much, and I think that's my biggest thing. I'm on the path of exploring now. It's learning not to feel like that. You know, and almost admiring those qualities in like 19-year-old me that back then I was like, oh, I'm crazy. You know?
Yeah. You're not. When you have an album that's done, how do you kind of turn off the songwriting? Like, you know, it's done, it's turned in, it's coming out tomorrow, but these ideas don't stop.
I haven't actually, because it took me so long to do this record that I just am like, I want to do another one. I want something that's more present. So right now I'm halfway through the next record that I'm arguably even more excited about. You know, I'm going way more folk, and I did this thing on tour where I was trying to write a song and then play it in the same night, and that ended up with a song from the Bluebird, actually, that is on this next album. So I think don't turn it off. A lot of the artists I actually adore have a lot of output for that reason. Yeah. So maybe that's kind of how I see it.
Wow, I'm picturing like a rage folk record.
That's kind of the vibe.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it really is. I'm the rage folk girl now. Not Coffee in the Woods, you know? Rage folk.
I know, you know, this question gets asked of artists all the time, but the fact that you're already, you know, halfway through a new album, I'm sure mentally you're moving on a bit, but this cycle is just starting up. Mm-hmm. So you have some shows coming up.
Yeah.
How do you keep that fresh and, you know, enjoy singing songs that are painful and you feel kind of done with?
Every show is completely different. Honestly, live performance is my favorite thing in the whole world. I think it never feels old. I can play songs that I've been playing for 5 years, and I'm still find something. And you connect with different ones in different shows. Mm-hmm. So sometimes it will just hit me, this song, and as I'm singing it, And then other times she'll be like, oh, well, I'm not that into that one anymore, even though it was your favorite the night before. So that's why I think live performance is just so incredible. Gives it, like, it's dynamic. You're not sat there on your phone, or you're not sat there static. Right. You know, it's live. It's like a conversation, Yeah.
Do you have an older song of yours that, you know, with age and new perspective, that you actually have like a newfound appreciation for in your life?
Oh, I think What Am I Here For, potentially. Just because that's the only song I've really written in the middle of the night. I was feeling very existential. I never used to be able to write at home in my kind of childhood bedroom. And that one I did. And it's very much like I spoke to you about, with like a chord and a feeling and a chord and a feeling. That's exactly how that one happened. So yeah, I really love that song. And you can hear the fire of like this shed I recorded it in, because no one thought it was going to come out. I was like, I do this thing where I like record demos that I've done. So I like write 5 and then be like, now we record 5, and just keep them in the bank. And that was one of those. And then we just chucked it on that EP.
Wow.
Yeah.
How many iPhone recordings do you feel like you have saved up on your phone right now?
Oh, hundreds, which is why I wanted to make an effort through my whole career to record them properly, because otherwise you sort of just get lost. And I have this thing, I like to finish everything. Yeah. I'm a bit mental like that.
That's great.
Yeah, I do try, because otherwise you just end up with half songs.
Yeah. Wow, okay, so everything's pretty much done. You have like, 20 albums worth of songs you're saying?
Oh, no, they're not coming out. You have to wheat from the chaff, innit? You have to be like, these aren't good. These have risen.
What?
You have to be wheat from the chaff.
Okay.
It's sort of an English saying from farming with a scythe. I think it's when they sort of separated the wheat and then the straw bit would fall. And that's how I feel about my songs. The straw is fallen and the album is risen.
Emerging. Yeah. So like I said, you have some shows coming up. You're doing like a record store tour, which I love. A lot of rough trades.
Yeah.
What people who are going to be at those shows, what can we expect from them?
Try my best to learn the songs that I haven't learnt yet. There's a couple that, I haven't released. I was like, well, no one's going to know. And now I have to learn them, and they're proving quite difficult.
Oh. Which is the hardest to perform live, you think?
Well, there's this song called Somebody New that's on the end of the record that's so high. Like, even for, I'm like, and I sing high, and even for me, I'm like, ooh. So that one, and then chords, I think my manager says I sort of play chord Monopoly on stage with songs I'm not sure of. Kind of like G, A minor, C, ooh. So How to Be Happy, Einstein, they're my weak spots. If you come and see a show, you'll know. Okay. I'm struggling.
Now you'll fool us.
Yeah.
You won't be able to tell. I also need to ask you about Glastonbury, which was, last month?
Yeah.
It had been your first time back in a few years. What is that experience like? Because that festival seems quite crazy.
I mean, I sort of have a love-hate experience with festivals. Because, you're backstage and you're hearing all the other stages and you're a bit like a grumpy kind of, I don't like festivals. And then you get on and it's actually really great, and the crowd love it. So, yeah, it was amazing. Glastonbury's like iconic, and there's a lot of political stuff that happened this year, which I thought was really great to see in music again. So yeah, it was great. Yeah.
So I was gonna ask if you got to see some other sets. It sounds like maybe.
Yes.
Or is it just what you're seeing around?
Yes, it was a long journey there and a long journey back, but I did see Rachel Chinanori. All I ever ask is you. You know that one?
Yes, she's amazing.
She's incredible. So yeah.
Okay, nice. Do you feel like you have a community at this point that you get to kind of run into at these things?
Yeah. There's always somebody you'll see. It's usually like instrumentalists. And you're like, oh, what's up? Or like the one person you don't want to see is an old tour manager.
No.
You're sort of like, ooh, know some stuff about you. So that's a lot of the backstage. It's not quite as glamorous as, and I did see Gigi Perez backstage at BST, and I'm such a huge fan of her, so that was cool. But, mostly just people that you're like, oh, God. Yeah. Oh, he did too many drugs that time.
Is there someone that you would just love to collaborate with, like as a featured artist? Because that is not common for you.
True. I think either Nathaniel Ratcliffe, obsessed. Yes, so good. Kevin Morby, obsessed with him. Waxachi too, that would be sick. Anybody in that scene, really, I'm sort of just obsessed with, you know? So probably I'll go with those three for now, but there's a long list.
I do feel like that scene is thriving lately.
Big time, yeah.
How have you seen that shift since you started your career?
It's a good question because when I remember showing my managers, Chris Stapleton, everyone has that. It's becoming almost a meme now. But when I was 15, I remember showing my mum. He was playing this BMI thing, and there's this song, "You Should Probably Leave," and I think it's one of the greatest songs written of all time. And it was Far Away too. I remember running into my mum's room and being like, "This is the greatest thing in the world," and she was like, "It's all right." You know, she didn't really get Chris Stapleton quite the same as I did. So at 18, I told my managers, I was like, Chris Stapleton. And then shortly later, he became everyone we know and love. So that was one.
Oh, you were quite early.
I was, but everyone says they were early with him, so it's sort of worn off. Do you know what I mean? I don't have that story, but yeah.
Is there someone, I don't know, do you listen to much music when you're in the process of making your own?
A lot.
So is there someone you're kind of excited about right now who hasn't become
a
star?
Yeah, I've actually started working with younger female artists, like writing songs with them, and there's just, I could give you a whole list. There's this girl, Talia Ray, in the UK, who's we wrote this kind of soul song, and her voice is just astounding. Elle Coves from Ireland, Susanna Joffe, there's so many, you know. Should just make a playlist, shouldn't I?
That's awesome.
Yeah,
you should make a playlist.
Right? Yeah, go
and
do that.
Yeah. In your spare time. You know?
Yeah,
right? So we're nearing album release time.
Yes.
If you had one wish or one goal for this album once it's out, what would that be?
A wish or a goal? I don't know, because how far do you take it? Do you know what I mean? World domination. No, I think ultimately just like I would love to feel like it doesn't date in a way, and it sort of stands the test of time. I think that's the goal with everything I make. I want it to hold its space wherever that means. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know really. I think you can get too wrapped up with goals and not be in the present. You know what I mean? So yeah.
I think that's one of the beautiful things is because this album is about cycles, like that is eternal, for better or worse.
Yeah,
These cycles stick around, you know?
Yeah, it's really interesting you say that. I've gotten very interested in death recently, so I'm reading The Denial of Death by Ernest Becker. And I'm sort of very fascinated with all that stuff, but it's a bigger conversation than death.
Wow. Well,
we don't have a lot
We have all night. I love this album, but I'm just like so curious about what this next one's gonna sound like because
I'll send you some bits. Too, yeah.
Death, rage, folk.
Oh, it's a whole thing.
Wow.
Yeah.
A journey. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you have to wait and see.
Yes, we'll wait. But you know, tonight we have something to satisfy us.
Yes, I hope so.
So we're gonna take a few questions from the audience.
Mm-hmm.
If people just want to raise their hand, and I can call on you. Not all at once. Woo! Yes.
Hey, yeah, so you've done a fair amount of press for this amazing album already, and I'm wondering if there's anything you want to say about it that hasn't been asked.
See, I know Paul's my best friend. I knew you were going to ask me something that's crazy like that exact question. Anything that I haven't been asked that, oh, no. No. I was sort of going into a bunch of things. I was like, no, I can't reveal that, but yeah.
I'm curious now, too.
That's the worst thing to do on stage, isn't it? But yeah, no. Thanks for that question, Paul. You stood me up there.
Is there a question that you're just like totally sick of being asked?
Oh, I don't get too negative about things like that. I mean, you know, people are meeting you for the first time. Sometimes they might ask you the same question as a bunch of other people have asked, you know? I think if I was like super diva and like, oh, how old am I? When's my birthday? You know, it just make me a bit of a, you know, not nice person. So, no, you're free with all the questions.
Does anyone else? Yes.
Right. I do have a question about, I saw that you will be in Nashville at the Americana Music Fest in September.
Yeah.
And it doesn't seem like you're from Nashville.
No, certainly not, yeah.
And your lovely accent. Did you find the genre? Or did the genre find you? How did you find your way to this music genre?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think, so when I was a kid, my parents weren't into the type of music that I'm into. They were very much like, my mum was very young ultimately, so it was kind of pop music or electronic music. And then ultimately, I had a stepdad who kind of showed me. I remember it was like this band called Black Rebel Motorcycle Club, and then he showed me. I love them. And then he showed me Johnny Cash, and I remember just being like, "Oh," and it felt cool. And I know that sounds so basic, but I think when you're a kid and you're trying to find your tribe or you're trying to find them things that you express you, I remember finding that and being like, okay. And then I found the Civil Wars, and they had a huge, they were incredible. I know some gossip there as well. No, they were incredible, and I just felt all this direct impact. It was like this kind of feedback loop of me writing songs and being inspired and writing songs and being inspired. And then, that turned into my love for the genre that hasn't gone away. It was sort of like discovering, as opposed to the other way around,
We'll see you in Nashville.
Definitely. Oh, are you from there? Oh. Oh, amazing. It's going to be phenomenal. I'm so excited. I'm bringing it. It's in the case. I'm making a few more too. We're back.
Are you good at pool?
Am I good at pool? No, I like to think so after a few beers.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I'm like, come on, me and you, $100. I'm one of those. And they're like,
That sounds fun.
home time, Jade. Yeah.
There's a question right here.
When did you realize you could do this for your lifetime? Like, was there a moment in your life where you're like, oh shit, this is a job that I get to do for the rest of forever if I want to?
Yeah. Yeah, it's sort of multifaceted because I think, like, as an artist, especially nowadays, you feel like it's going to be snatched away at any moment. So it's a bit of an irrational fear because as long as you keep creating and making stuff that's worth putting out, it will continue. But you do get this sort of like middle of the night, like it's going to be over next week. But I think since I was like 13, I was like, I want to try and make this very impossible thing happen. And I lived in the smallest town of the smallest towns. And I was really lucky. I had a mum who was like, dreaming was important and encouraged. And I just gigged. I was like, played and played and played. So I don't think I even knew the possibility of that I would be in LA talking to you right now at 13. Like, that's mental. And I forget that sometimes. But yeah, like, I don't know how, I hope that answered it in a weird way. Aww. Yeah, it makes me emotional because, probably. I think she'd be pretty chuffed with who I am. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. That's nice. Hi.
Yes, question right there.
Hi. I had a question about your extensive voice memos. I was curious, like, do you have a way that you go back to those songs if you haven't finished them? Because I myself find it sometimes so hard to go back to that moment to develop that same feeling, or like, do you like to add on, like, that time that has happened in between that like kind of changes the direction of that song? Sometimes I find myself kind of like, okay, do I stick to what was learned then, or do I transform it into something? Because every moment deserves to be reviewed, right? So, like, do you have like a method or something that you find along the way?
It's a really good question. I've always been quite brutal, to be honest with you. And I mean, I was dating a songwriter for a very time. He had a very different approach than I had. And he was like, had an idea that he would develop for years, ultimately. And I'm very much like, I finish it, and it's either something I'll, come back to, or it's like, I had a very like, this isn't good enough kind of approach. When I was listening to voice memos, there's one on this next album that I wrote, I recorded, and I just kept going back to it and listening to it, and it ended up turning out really great. So I guess with unfinished stuff, though, you know what? Actually, I've just thought of something. I did this song called Anniversary when I was like 19, and it's the only song with exactly what you're talking about. I was like, this is a great chorus. This is a great chorus. I can't let this go. But every time I would come to record it, it wouldn't be good. And I was like, oh, you don't understand. And I just recently recorded it with different verses, and it was that beautiful moment of me now and the song from the past. So I think it does exist. I think if you really love the gem, if you really love the idea, it's worth coming back to. But I think having too much, maybe you get stretched a bit thin. You probably know. Yeah.
Okay, one more question, if there is one. Oh no, 2 hands went up. Okay, 2 more questions. You first.
I think maybe it comes to the fact of like, it sounds really simple, but like, does it move me now? You know, is it moving me right in this second? Is it moving me as I'm finished? Is it moving me as I'm singing it? I do road test a lot, so I'll take it to gigs and then sort of test the theory and be like, is it moving anyone else? Is this a solo affair? Because I have had that. Sometimes I'm like, this song rocks, and then the crowd are like, meh, sleeper. You know? But I know a lot of artists don't do it that way at all. They're kind of like my way or the highway, which I respect. So I kind of have a double thing. But I get the sense the song's finished. I'm very simple. I'm like verse, chorus, bridge, chorus, you know, and then I judge it. Is this good? Is this bad? Do I feel something? Do I not feel something? You know? And ultimately, like, best you can do. Like with all my recordings, I know I talk about it being like trash. It's only because you grow and you realize you can do better. In that moment, it was the best thing I could get, you know?
Yeah, it sounds like you're writing all the time. I was wondering if there's days where you don't feel like writing, if you have them, and how you overcome that.
Yeah, so when I was a kid, I used to be a bit militaristic with it. And I was pretty brutal on myself, very criticizing, yeah. not the nicest. But I was kind of like, write every day, write even though you don't feel like it, write. And I have this theory that maybe it was doing that 10,000 hours theory and just bettering your craft, writing through it because you're not good enough yet. But now I'm way less hard on myself. So if I'm writing, and I'm like, this just isn't, I don't feel in the mood. I don't really care about this idea. Nothing's hitting me. I won't write. And when I do sit down and write, I have the confidence now to be like, I can create a really good song right now. So that's completely changed over time for me, personally.
Thank you for all the questions.
Great questions.
Yeah, I love hearing other people ask questions.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Okay, we are going to quickly reset the stage, so please stay seated, and then you're going to treat us to the best performance of our lives on release night.
Yeah, here we go. Thank you.